Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Amiibo here, and today we are doing our first new releases of the Nintendo Switch 2 era. We're going to go over all of the new releases coming to Switch 2 this month, both in the US, but also in Japan, and as more regional variants start popping up, we will cover them as well. Now, I know what you might be thinking, Bo, you say there's 18 physicals coming out this month on the Switch 2. Well, actually, there's only 6 because of the game key cards. Yes, I understand you. I hear you. We are going to separate them. So for the first part of the video, we will go over the true physicals, as we will call them, the games that have the data on the cartridge. Then there will be a timestamp. You can skip ahead to all of the game key card releases. Then we will go over the imports, and we will talk a little bit about the code and box releases as well, because there are a couple of those if you decide you want to buy them. I also think it's still important to talk a little bit about Switch 1, even though the release cadence is certainly slowing down now, and a lot of these games are available on Switch 2. I'm not going to go over every single Switch 1 game that's releasing each month now. However, I will include the notable ones, we'll say, in terms of what I find interesting in games that just aren't really, shovelware. But with all that said, we have our first Nintendo Switch 2 release on June 5th, 2025, and we have a lot to talk about for June 5th because we have quite a few launch titles, both in terms of proper physicals, but also game key cards. So first up, for $79.99, our first $80 game on the platform, we have a Mario Kart World. Very excited for this game. I think a lot of people will be getting it digitally because it is cheaper if you get it through the Switch 2 bundle, but this is available physically, and this is going to be entirely on the cartridge. I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on this game. Definitely going to be the game I load up first, even just for a few minutes before I mess around with some other things on launch day, and I imagine this will be the game everybody's playing on June 5th. So that is our first party release on the Switch 2 from Nintendo. First new game, first new Mario Kart in over 11 years. Cannot wait for this release. But we also have two other releases from Nintendo on day one, physically, of course. There is also Welcome Tour on the eShop, but we have The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 edition for $69.99, so it's $10 more than the base version. If you already have it on Switch 1, you can pay $10 to get an upgrade that will make it run better and everything like that, and you get access to the new Zelda Notes features. Those upgrades are also included with the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, so if you have that, well, you already have access to this version of the game on your Switch with your base copy of Breath of the Wild. But if you want to have the Switch 2 cartridge that has all of the Switch 2 data on it, this is a complete physical release of Breath of the Wild on June 5th. We also have, of course, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for $79.99. So originally this game was $70 on Switch. They're adding $10 more to that in terms of value, I guess, for the Switch 2 upgrade. Same thing though, it's free with NSO expansion pack. It's $10 a la carte on the eShop. Really, if you already have the game on Switch, there's not much reason to buy these again. I am a diehard Zelda fan, so I want to own these, so I am going to pick them up. But realistically, unless you're like a really hardcore collector, there's just not much reason to get these if you already have them on Switch 1. Very excited for the upgrades, though. I'm not sure when exactly I'll get to replaying these. Tears of the Kingdom would certainly be next because I replayed Breath of the Wild right before Tears of the Kingdom came out. But I'll be checking these out on launch day, I think, at least for a few minutes. You can transfer your save and everything. So I do want to check these out and see how they run. From when I played at the demo event, or what I saw people playing at the demo event, I didn't get hands-on with this one because I ran out of time. But from watching other people play it, it looks like a big jump just having 4K 60 in this when the frame rate wasn't great originally. Is pretty exciting. For these next two, we're going to go over to Amazon, and I will say now, if you want to support the channel, I do have Amazon affiliate links for every game that we discuss in this video that is available on Amazon, so the Mario and Zeldas aren't on there, but Cyberpunk 2077, $69 or $69.99, depending on where you buy it. This is releasing on June 5th, and CD Projekt Red is doing a great job with this release. We saw from leaked photos that it includes some other goodies inside the box. I won't spoil what those are if you want a little surprise when you open it, but this is a fully on the cartridge release from CD Projekt Red. It is one of the most notable third-party games on release day because of that, and I think they will be pleasantly surprised by the sales success of it from physical collectors. If you are against game keycards, this is where you really need to show up and support CD Projekt Red, as well as this next game. But I will say also, if you do want to support the channel, once again, those links are down there for Amazon and for Play Asia when we get to the imports. If you want to support the channel, you can use those links and buy the games down there. I would appreciate it, but no pressure, of course. So pretty excited for this. From what we've seen, the Switch 2 version of Cyberpunk is running really well, so I'll definitely be checking that out. We also have a Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, also releasing on launch day, of course, from Xseed and Marvelous for $69 on the Nintendo Switch. This is another game that is completely on the cartridge. Marvelous has talked about how they are going to put their games on the cartridge, even if it means that their sales are, or their profits are a little bit worse. So once again, if you're really against game keycards, this is one to support and to show the industry that, hey, we want the true physicals on Switch 2. Now, this one is $70 on Switch 2. However, there is also a Switch 1 version for $59.99 or $60, and there is a limited edition that is only available for the Switch 2, for the Switch 1 version, I should say. Currently sold out on Amazon. It comes with some CD soundtrack art book, Japanese Fan, Seasons of Love DLC. There was some production issues with that. I think that the special edition contents will be shipping later or something like that. And if you buy the Switch 2 edition, if you go to Marvelous's website, you can actually buy just the special edition like contents separately if you want to get it physically on Switch 2 and then do that. There should also be an upgrade available if you want to buy the Switch 1 game for $60. There should be like a $10 upgrade, I'm pretty sure, on day one. So this is one that I'm not sure if I'll get to immediately, especially now that I'm playing Fantasy Life. Pretty similar vibes and what these games are. But got to applaud Marvelous. They're doing the right thing with the physical releases. Okay, now we're actually going to jump ahead from June 5th so we can talk about the final release of the month that is not a game keycard. We have a Japanese import for Tamagotchi Plaza from Bandai Namco. This is releasing on June 26th, and it's $50. This is fully on the cartridge for the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. There's also a Switch 1 version of this game available if you want to get that instead, but this is the final release of the month that is actually on the cartridge. It's not a game keycard, it's not a code in box. This is more of a hidden one, I guess, because it is an import. You do have to go to Play Asia or Video Games Plus and order it. I'll have the link down below if you want to support the channel and buy it through Play Asia. I'll get a little bit back from this, but this is one that I'm not personally very interested in, but it's still cool to see Bandai Namco does have a proper physical coming out. Has me scratching my head at the likes of Shadow Labyrinth, which doesn't look like it'll be on the cartridge in July, but this is our final fully on cartridge release for June. So in total, we're getting 6. We're getting Mario Kart World, both of the Zelda remasters, Cyberpunk 2077, Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, Switch 2 edition, as well as Tamagotchi Plaza. So 6 games. That's really not all that much, but when we start talking about the game key cards, well, there is a lot releasing on Switch 2 in the month of June. So going back to June 5th here, we have Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster for $40. From Square Enix. This is our first game keycard release. It will require an 11 gig download. So when you put this cartridge into your Switch 2, you will need to download those 11 gigs, and you'll have to download the game that way. You'll need to be connected to the internet to install it. Once it's installed, you do not need the internet. You just need the cartridge to be inside the console to play it. But yeah, this is our first game keycard release. And from what I've seen, it's kind of like out of stock. It's not on Amazon. GameStop pre-orders are sold out, so this might be a little bit harder to find on day one for the console. We also have Street Fighter 6 Years 1 to 2 Fighters Edition game key card for $60. If you want to get just the base game with no DLC, that is available for $40 on the eShop by itself. This is a 50 gig game download for the base game, and then the Fighters Edition, we discussed this in a news video a couple of days ago, the DLC, so the Year 1 Season Pass, the Year 2 Season Pass, that is a download code on top of the fact that it's a game key card, which is a little silly. Alongside this release, there are also 3 new Street Fighter 6 amiibo releasing alongside the amiibo cards for this game. Those are also very pricey. They're $40 for each amiibo. Street Fighter 6 is a great game. I love Street Fighter 6. There's some new gyro modes in this where you can like waggle the Joy-Con. I don't know why you would really want to do that, but it is really great to see Street Fighter back on a Nintendo platform. Swapping back over to Amazon, we have Yakuza 0 Director's Cut from Sega and RGG. This one is going to retail for $50. It is a game key card that requires a 47 gig full game download. I'm excited for this because, well, one, Yakuza 0 is one of my favorite games of all time, but they're also adding this whole new online multiplayer mode that I'm very curious about because I don't actually know how good that will be. Like, how much of a time sink is this going to be in terms of like me wanting to come back to it? I'm going to check it out on day one. I'm going to be messing around with it. I might do a stream on my other channel, Botox Games, checking out the online. It's called Red Light Raid mode, but I don't know how much longevity that'll have. There's a lot of unlockable characters and stuff, so it's very interesting that they're just adding a full online mode to this. There's also English VO for, I believe, the first time. There's some new cutscenes and stuff, so this is a true director's cut of Yakuza 0, which is pretty cool. I will say, if you are interested in this and you are skeptical of the whole game keycard situation, I would say maybe wait on Yakuza 0 because I would not be surprised if a year from now, 2 years from now, we see Limited Run come back to some of these game keycard releases. And Yakuza is a series they've already done a lot for on PlayStation 4, on Xbox Series, and on Switch 1 with Yakuza Kiwami. So I wouldn't be surprised if LRG does a proper physical of Yakuza 0 Director's Cut down the line. So maybe wait for that. Wait for a sale. Sega games do often go on sale pretty quickly, but that is going to be a launch title for $50 on June 5th. We do have 2 other releases from Sega. I would say Sega probably doing it worse than anybody else in terms of how they're releasing their Switch 2 games. So we have Sonic Shadow Generations. This version of the game will run better, it's going to look better, but they're not really adding anything new to it from what I can tell. It's $50, and what's annoying is if you already own it on Switch 1, at least as of right now, maybe they'll change their minds, there is no upgrade path. If you have it on Switch 1, you cannot pay a $5, $10 upgrade to get the Switch 2 version. You have to pay the full price to get it. Again, this is a game key card. It is a 24 gig download for the Switch 2 edition of Sonic Shadow Generations on June 5th. Sega also has Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, another game key card. It's only a 4 gig download, and they still couldn't squeeze it down because the Switch 2 cartridges are supposedly about 1 gig or 2 gigs, I believe. This is going to release for $40. They're adding some new features with the mouse controls, as well as there is Switch 2 camera support, which is really funny. You can like put your face behind the blocks. But this is one that if you've already played Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, they're not adding that much, just some kind of gimmicky modes. Nothing like actually substantial is being added to this version. We also have the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Hogwarts Legacy on Nintendo Switch 2 for $59.99. This is a 24 gig game keycard download, and from what we've seen, they're actually doing quite a bit with this version of the game. I've never played Hogwarts Legacy, so I'm not quite sure the details, but I know on Switch 1, because they had to make so many concessions to get it running on that hardware, it's like a whole different game. Like the amount of load screens and stuff when you're traveling around Hogwarts, just going through doors, it basically changed what that game was on Switch 1. They had to rebuild it for that version, whereas this is more in line with the PlayStation 5 and Series X versions that we're already used to. And they're also adding those Joy-Con to mouse controls. I think you can also like wave it around with motion, which is pretty cool. And this is another game that, even though it's not called Switch 2 Edition, there is an upgrade. I'm pretty sure it's $10 for this release. If you have it on Switch 1 already, you can pay the $10 and get the upgrade on the eShop. And then our final ESRB release for a game keycard on June 5th is Hitman World of Assassination from IO Interactive. This is Hitman 1, 2, and 3. All of that content is included in this. It is a 61 gig full game download, so our biggest game key card yet in terms of file size. I'm not a huge stealth fan. I don't typically love stealth games, but I think I want to give this a shot eventually just to see, exactly what all the hype is about. I know people love these Hitman games, so to see them finally come to a Nintendo platform is pretty exciting. There's also this bonus content signature and quack pack, which gives you some Mario and Luigi themed cosmetics. It's not actually Mario and Luigi. They didn't quite get the license for their Assassination game, but it makes you look a little bit more like Mario and Luigi. I think you like wear overalls or something, which is funny. We do have one more game keycard release coming out at the end of June, or towards the end of June. On June 19th, we have Raidou Remastered, The Mystery of the Soulless Army Launch Edition. This is a game keycard. It's going to be a 17 gig download. There is a Nintendo Switch 1 version. Now, once again, this is Sega. This is Atlas. They don't seem to be doing upgrade paths. I've seen a lot of people say, well, hey, why not buy the Switch 1 version and then upgrade to that Switch 2 release? $50, by the way, pretty good price for this game. You can't upgrade. So if you want to play it on Switch 2 with all of the upgrades that the Switch 2 will have, you're stuck with the game keycard release. But yeah, this is one I'm actually pretty excited to check out. I've never played either of the Raidou games. I love SMT4, and I played a lot of SMT5 Vengeance, and I really enjoyed that. But my SMT knowledge really isn't all-encompassing, especially when we get to like these spin-offs and stuff. This is more like an action game, action detective game. So I'm pretty excited for this, and I like that it's on June 19th, so it's a little bit further out from the release of the console. I should be mostly done with Mario Kart, hopefully Rune Factory by then, maybe Yakuza Zero's online mode, so I'll have some time to play this as really the last major release on Switch 2 of the month. Okay, now let's go back over to the import games on Play Asia here. These are all game keycard releases, but they are available on June 5th for the Nintendo Switch 2. Once again, I'll have links to them down below if you want to support the channel and buy them that way. You'll get access to these games, and they do have English on the cartridge. That's the important thing. These Japanese games, I should have said this with Tamagotchi Plaza, these have English on the cartridge. So even though they have Japanese on the box or whatever, you can put it into your Switch 2, and you will be able to play it in English. So we have Tamagotchi Plaza, that's releasing towards the end of June, but earlier in the month, on launch day, we have Suikoden 1 and 2, HD Remaster. This came out back in March on Nintendo Switch. Weirdly, only $34.99. I don't know why it's so cheap. But here we have the box art for this release of the game. This is a game I want to play. It's a series I've always wanted to get into. I'm not going to have time to play this anytime soon, so maybe eventually I'll pick this up and check it out. We also had Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess. Now, this one actually sold out on Play Asia, and as far as I can tell, there's no one else that actually is selling it right now. Video Games Plus, at the time of recording, they don't have it up, but this is that strategy game from Capcom that released a year or two ago. Very cool art style. Very happy it's getting a second chance on Switch, and even though it's a game key card, I am happy it's getting some sort of physical. When I say physical, I'm talking about that literal physical cartridge. So it's nice to see Kunitsu-Gami getting something physically, because it was only digital on PS5 and at Series X. This one is a 12 gig game keycard download. I should say for Suikoden that was also 12 gigs, but this is releasing for, I think this one's $49.99 on Switch 2, but there's no price here because it's sold out. We also have the game keycard release of Nobunaga's Ambition Rebirth, or I think it's Awakening Complete Edition. This comes with a power-up kit, $82.99, so really the most expensive Switch 2 game if you want to get it in a box, you know, on your shelf. This is releasing on June 5th, of course, with the console. It's releasing digitally in America on the same day. Very low quality image, but this is a 15 gig download for the game keycard version. This is a strategy game, not unlike a Civilization style thing from Koei Tecmo, set during the Romance of the Three Kingdoms era. I want to check this out. I want to get more into these games and just, you know, kind of broaden my horizons a little bit on Switch 2. I have a feeling Koei Tecmo will send me a code, so I probably won't be pulling the trigger on $83 for this. Now, I am noticing with this release, this is the only one I've seen this one. I swear it said something different before, but it's saying right here, the subtitles are only in Japanese, simplified Chinese, and traditional Chinese. So I don't know if this one is going to include English on the cartridge. It looks like it might not actually, which is really weird because there's actually a physical on Nintendo Switch that does have English. I actually have this on Switch 1. So weird to me that the Switch 2, even if it's a game key card, weird to me that wouldn't have English on it. Yeah, this one says subtitles English. Huh. So I guess Nobunaga's Ambition, maybe steer clear of this physical, because it doesn't look like it actually has English in this version, which is weird to me. I don't really get that. There's an English version of the game. It's releasing in America, but why not put it on the cartridge or in this game keycard version of the cartridge? So weird to me. Two more game keycard releases from Japan. First up, we have Survival Kids from Konami. This is $50. It's a 3 gig download, and it does have English on there, just to be very safe. If you go to any of these pages, make sure you're checking to see that it says subtitles English. But this is a revival of a Game Boy Color game. Looks like a fun little co-op survival thing where you're, you know, building bases, that kind of thing. I want to check this out, but Fantasy Life, Rune Factory, I mean, come on. There's so many games that, like, involve crafting or, like, some sort of, like, you know, that cozy game style happening at launch. And I think out of the three, this one certainly looks the weakest. So no offense, Konami, but a 3 gig download for that key card, they could almost have squeezed it on there for $50. I don't know about this one. Cool to see them revive this random dead IP, though. That is neat. And then the final cartridge releasing on Nintendo Switch 2 in the month of June is this Shinepost Be Your Idol game. I don't know anything about this series, this franchise. Konami seems to be involved with it. It seems to be a real thing. I've gone to the YouTube channel. There is like a following for Shinepost. Just completely out of my orbit. Releasing on June 5th, another launch title for $61.99. It is a 8 gig download for the game keycard version, and most notably, there is no English. This is definitely Japanese only. I can't even find a thing that says the subtitles, but trust me, a game like this is not going to have English on the cartridge. I would be absolutely shocked. So that is the final cartridge release. However, there are 2 other things releasing in America. We'll go back a little bit here to launch day once again. On June 5th, we have the Code and Box release for Sid Meier's Civilization 7 on Switch 2. This one is interesting because it's a Code and Box Switch 2 edition, and for some reason it seems to be in a clear packaging, as you can see here. Very ugly box for this one, but $70 for a code. Oh my goodness. What are we doing, 2K? This one is going to have a paid upgrade path, so you should be able to just buy the Switch 1 version, which is on the cartridge, and upgrade to this. So that is definitely a better option than just buying the game keycard, especially when, I mean, we'll do this in real time. Let me just search Civilization 7 on Switch right now. I bet you can get this game for much cheaper if you buy the Switch 1 version for $47. Buy that, and then pay the $10 upgrade, and you're literally getting it cheaper, and you get a cartridge that actually has at least a Switch 1 version on the game. So avoid that code and box, I would say. Get the Switch 1 version if you want it, and then upgrade to the Switch 2 release. And then finally, for Switch 2 this month, I'm so bummed that EA is doing this. Why not at least do a game keycard? Come on, are you really that cheap? But for $49.99 on June 5th, we have Split Fiction from EA and Hazelight. This is a fantastic game, one of my favorite games of the year, but it is a code and box release. It is just a code on a piece of paper. So annoying, such a shame. I don't know why they wouldn't do a game keycard. It just seems so... like, come on. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, why even take up the retail space? I know it's for people to buy gifts and stuff, but it's still frustrating to see this from EA as well as 2K for Civ 7. So those are all of the Nintendo Switch 2 games releasing in June in some sort of retail presence, right? We have 6 true physicals where the data is on the cartridge. We have 12 game key card releases, and we have 2 code and box releases. Of those game key cards, if my count is right, 5 of them are in Japan, so you'll have to import some of those if you decide to get them. Otherwise, the rest of those, though, should be available at retail. But like I said, with Bravely Default, it looks like these might actually be selling out a little bit. The demand might be a little bit higher than some of these publishers were expecting. Now, we already covered what I would consider the biggest Switch 1 games releasing in June, being Rune Factory as well as Raidou Remastered. However, I do want to cover a couple other random things here, just miscellaneous games that piqued my interest, games that I thought looked interesting, because I don't want to do a whole video just for Switch 1 anymore. We'll tie it into here. But here we have Gal Guardians Servants of the Dark from P-Cube, but notably developed by Inti Creates. I love Inti Creates and what they do. This is releasing on June 12th, 2025 for $34.99 on Switch 1 physically. This is a Metroidvania in the Gal Gun universe, but really it is just another Inti Creates Metroidvania, which is, those are always good. They always nail their Metroidvanias. We also have The Thing Remastered releasing on Switch as well as PS5 for $30 on June 25th, but there is a deluxe edition that is $50. This includes some extra goodies in there. This is one that people were commenting back in like November, December when it released digitally, like, hey, you forgot to talk about The Thing Remastered. I'm not sure if this game is good. People are really hyping it up. I think this is another one of those Night Dive remasters. Yeah, this is from Night Dive. They've been doing a lot of greats, I think, work on Doom, as well as they did the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster. So this is one that I'm kind of just interested in. I've never even seen The Thing, I'll be honest. I've never seen the movie, so maybe I should watch that, and maybe I'll check out this physical later in June. On June 19th, we have the Oddworld Anthology, the Unlikely Heroes Collection. So this includes Oddworld Soulstorm, Oddworld Munchie's Odyssey, Stranger's Wrath HD, as well as New and Tasty, 4 games in 1, although it does say download required on the front, so I'm guessing some of these are download codes. It's releasing for $50. I bet this will go on sale pretty quickly. Oddworld games on Switch have been pretty quick to go on sale, I feel like, at least in my experience. I know I got Stranger's Wrath for like, I think I paid $10 for it on Amazon at some points, but this is a nice collection of Oddworld games releasing from Microids on June 19th. And then just a few more that I wanted to shout out. Chronicles of the Wolf from P-Cube on June 19th as well for $30. Don't know too much about it, but I thought the art style looked a little bit interesting here. Another Metroidvania looking game at the very least. I'm not sure if this is good. For all you FNAF fans, there's also the Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit game on Nintendo Switch for $30 on the 20th of June. Another FNAF game. I feel like there's so many of these. This one looks to be more of a 2D side-scroller. I'm not too sure what's going on here. I can't keep up with all this FNAF stuff. There's just too much of it. And then finally, on June 26th for Switch, we have Macross Shooting Insights from Red Art Games for $50. Not too familiar with this. I know it's a popular anime, mecha Gundam-looking anime. I've seen some of the DVDs before at like my thrift store. So I'm not sure if people are excited for this one, but wanted to shout it out as one of the more interesting releases on Switch 1. Once again, I'm not going over every Switch 1 game releasing physically in June, just the ones that piqued my interest, the ones that I saw that looked a little bit more up my alley. If I missed any notable releases on Switch 1 for June, let me know in the comments down below. But really my focus is Switch 2. I really want to focus on Switch 2, even with all the game key cards. I want to, be all-encompassing of what's releasing for that platform for the foreseeable future. But that is going to do it for today's video. As always, let me know what you're planning on picking up in the month of June on both Switch 2 and Switch 1. I would love to hear what you're planning on adding to your collection this month. I'm going to be getting quite a bit of that stuff on Switch 2. I'll be doing videos very soon, so it's June 1st right now. In a couple of days, on June 5th, the console releases. You can expect a lot of videos from me covering these games, even the game key cards. We're going to be doing some testing with those as well. I know apparently magnets can like hurt them or something. I saw an article about that, so we're going to be putting that to the test. We're going to be testing out my Bravely Default cartridge and seeing if a magnet can actually destroy it. So stay tuned for a lot of Switch 2 coverage this month. I would very much appreciate it. Of course, if you're planning on picking up any of the games in this video, if you like what I do on this channel and you want to support it, you can use the affiliate links down below to buy games and, support the channel that way. I would very much appreciate it, but once again, no pressure there. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, check out my Nintendo news channel at BoTalksGames, and click on one of these 2 videos to listen to me ramble about even more Nintendo collecting stuff. Until next time, folks, peace!